Live from the News Hub here in Accra, this is News 360. I'm Isa Moni.
And I'm Natalie Fort. A look at the top stories this evening.
News 360 Headlines is brought to you by
President Akufo-Addo tasks parties in Togo's political crisis to put the interest of their nation first.
And a middle-aged man in police custody for brutalizing 6-year-old niece with an iron rod.
Also ahead this evening, Accra High Court orders release of Achimota Senior High School student who shot and killed his girlfriend last year.
And also coming up, Director of Ankafo Psychiatric Hospital, Dr. Eugene Dodoy, giving a week to hand over to his successor.
Also ahead this evening, we throw the spotlight on dark streets in the capital which endanger lives of road users at night.
And at least 17 people killed in the Mozambique capital, Maputo, following collapse of a huge rubbish mound. We have the details, including sports and entertainment. This hour, stay with us as we begin the news right away. President Akufo-Addo has charged parties in the Togolese political crisis to put the interests of their nation at heart and make the spirit of compromise a key factor in ensuring a lasting solution to the impasse. President Akufo-Addo is in Togo to mediate the political unrest between President Faure Gnassingbé and the opposition coalition.
The dialogue was part of a 6-month-long effort attending series of protests which have claimed several lives. The meeting of key political protagonists in the ongoing unrest is expected to chart a credible path for the political future of the French West African colony. At the opening session of the dialogue, President Akufo-Addo charged the political leadership of the country to put the interest of the nation first.
It's important that it is this forum and that it is this dialogue that will determine the future of this country. And it is important that it is the Togolese themselves and not any outside forces that will determine the future of your country. It's extremely important for all of us to recognize that the destinies of our nations are in our own hands, and that therefore whatever emerges out of this dialogue represents the solutions that the Togolese people are looking for. What therefore is required of us on this occasion? It is that for all those who are assembled here, recognize that in a dialogue, the spirit of accommodation, the spirit of compromise has to be at the very forefront of the preoccupations of everyone. Why? Because the national interest of Togo demands it. And that has to be the overriding concern of everybody who will be participants in this dialogue, the national interests of the people of Togo.
The President's facilitation team included the Minister for National Security, Albert Kandapa, Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs, Charles Oredu, Ghana's Ambassador to Togo, Kwesi Owusu-Yaboah, Ambassador at Large, Dr. Edward Mahama, former Secretary to President Kufuor, and experienced retired diplomat D.K. Osei.
It's important for the self-respect of the Togolese people that their leaders are seen to be capable of arriving at solutions that will advance the interests of the people of this country. And my job, and the job of the facilitation team that has come from my country, is to assist in that process, to help in that process. I don't have a position in this matter. Despite all the links between us, I am not a Togolese, and therefore I cannot have a position in this matter. I can only assist in bringing about, hopefully, a durable solution to the problems of your country.
It will be the first formal dialogue between the members of the 14 opposition parties and the incumbent president.
Now, the political unrest in Togo has, in fact, been taking place and been brewing over a number of years now. But the year 2017 did see a lot of political protest surge. And let's take note that the family that President Faure Gnassingbé of Togo, in fact, comes from has been in power longer than any other African regime. And the Togolese people are incredibly unhappy with this situation. I'm going to run you by the crisis and the timeline of the crisis since August 2017. Now, protests began across Togo with hundreds asking President Faure Gnassingbé to step down after a 50-year family dynasty. And people are incredibly, the Togolese people are incredibly unhappy with this because you know that in 2002, his late predecessor and his father, Gnassingbé Yadima, in fact, reduced or lowered the age limit for a president to make way for his son, President Faure Gnassingbé. And this is what the Togolese people are unhappy with and wanted return of the constitution. Now, the death toll since September 2017 has been 12, according to Amnesty International, the death toll in Togo just since September last year. The 7th September 2017 saw the country experience biggest protest in its entire history. Protesters took over streets of Lomé, Togo's capital, and protesters pushed for restoration of the 1992 constitution, which imposes term limits. So this is the trouble of the Togolese people. It's the fact that there are no term limits, in fact, and President Faure Gnassingbé has been given the permission to be in rule for a long period of time following his father, and they are unhappy with this situation and want an immediate return of the 1992 constitution. And as we know, President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo is there to mediate affairs and to help bring peace there a little quicker. Isa, and that's what the situation is like in Togo, in the West African country, so near to Ghana.
Absolutely. I mean, just across the border. We're hoping to speak to a couple of people in Togo, journalists and some other people who have insight into Togolese politics. We've not been able to establish contact yet. So let's move on with some of the stories tonight. And international relations expert Professor Vladimir Ntwidanso has expressed confidence in Africa's growing democracy following the stepping down of some presidents across the continent. Speaking to TV3, he noted the continent is likely to experience many of such occurrences in line with pockets of political tension in certain regions.
Prime Minister of Tunisia, Hamadi Jebali, resigned on March 14, 2012. Robert Mugabe resigned as President of Zimbabwe on November 21, 2017. Jacob Zuma stepped down as South Africa's President on February 15. Ethiopia's Prime Minister, Haile Mariam Desalegn, on Thursday, February 15, submitted his resignation letter after the worst anti-government protests in a quarter of a century. International relations expert Professor Vladimir Ntwidanso is of the view the pattern of resignations by some African presidents should not be misunderstood.
I think it's a sign of a growing democracy, one way or the other, if you broaden the definition of democracy to mean citizens' participation, citizens' concern and change. In Ethiopia, you saw the unending kind of street riots and demands, and the government became frustrated. And I think we should offer our hearts also for the leadership, the kind of leadership we are having, in the sense that this is a stage in the leadership of Africa where they wouldn't want chaos. Now in South Africa, Zuma just felt that, hey, come on, I mean, I can't let go chaos. So better step down and let the ANC be the ANC. So if you look at these trends, then we are getting a new crop of leadership which is understanding the trends in democracy where you got to give in when you have to give in.
He noted the image of the African continent to the international community could rather be strengthened through the stepping down of some presidents. He argued that it reveals Africa has moved away from violence as a means of resolution to dialogue and peaceful, civilized methods.
I'm rather very happy that we have reached a point in our governance system in Africa where we change governments not by the bullet as such, but that the citizens themselves have a way of forcing their governments out if they don't like them. It's part of the Constitution in the sense that, revolt is also constitutional, rather than forcing the soldiers to take up arms.
In spite of the bold political developments across the continent, the concern by many is ensuring the economies of these African nations are not negatively affected in the process of political development. Natalie Fort, TV3 News. Let's turn our attention on to health now, as the 2016 batch of government-trained nurses besieged the health ministry demanding posting to various health centres. They were aggrieved privately trained nurses were going through verification to be employed, while they have not even been considered.
These aggrieved nurses form part of the 9,905 government-trained nurses of the 2016 batch. Though not bonded, these trainee nurses are expecting postings from government, even though they could search for jobs. They claim to have been home for the past 15 months after completing school.
It's very pathetic. We the government nurses, up to now, the exorbitant fees that we paid in schools, and up to now, the food, everything that we had to the bustle and hustle that we need to pass through the institutions till now. And as to now, you still not posted us, and you tell us, comparing us to a private nurse, telling us we are the same. I want to ask a question. If you as a father, you have not paid that of your son's school fees, how do you go and pay that of people's sons for them?
They are a combination of preventive and nurse assistant for the clinical unit. The trainee nurses who completed their studies in 2016 said several meetings with the health minister with the view to address their concerns have been to no avail. They intend pitching camp at the ministries and will not leave until their concerns are addressed.
I've stayed in the house for 2 years. We're getting to 2 years. 2 good years, no postings. Even money to buy food is a problem. Always have to ask your mother. You have to ask your father. It's affecting our social status. As a nurse, you go to a professional school, complete, pass your exams, and then you are still in the house for this long time. In fact, it's affecting the whole society, the whole nation, not only as a person.
Their protest distracted the rather peaceful verification privately trained nurses, which was underway at the same premises.
Some of us, we've been in the house for about 5 good years or 6 years or 3 years. But now that we had the opportunity that the forms are in for private nurses only. So we just have to fill them and submit, and the forms are not for sale.
The privately trained nurses comprise the 2012 to 2016 batches. TV3, Kwabna Edu Jenfi.
And the police at Ashaiman have in their custody a middle-aged man who hit the head of his niece with an iron rod for defecating in her dress. The 6-year-old girl suffered severe head injuries, but the officer says it is relying on the benevolence of the public to get her medical attention. Komna Kluche reports.
You're frozen. DNA.
Papa na pume.
The harrowing experience of 6-year-old Mafia severely injured on the head at a Shaman Taifa. These graphic images were obtained after her uncle, who she has been staying with, subjected her to severe beatings. Investigations have revealed she has been staying with her uncle, Daria Pia, after he went for her from her parents in Wa and suffered several beatings. On Friday, February 16th, a Pia, an Okada rider, returned from work and subjected Mafia to beatings with an iron rod for defecating on herself. Apparently, Mafia had asked him for money to go to the public toilet, but he declined. an eyewitness in the same house in which the suspect has lived for 4 years, Davi Comfort, narrates the child's ordeal.
He beats her mercilessly, and when you talk about it, his supposed wife will rain insults on you.
So this is the makeshift structure that appear the wife and the little niece living here in Ashaman Taifa. But since Friday, when the incident happened, the place has been under lock and key. They have absconded. What we gather from our investigations also is that whenever the child falls and he subjects her to severe beatings, he throws her out of this wooden structure and she has to lie on the mat here in the open whilst they are sleeping inside. The suspect was arrested by a police patrol team who later released him the same night without taking a statement or even taking him to any police station. TV3 investigations later revealed the patrol team kept the case away from the divisional DOFSO.
They took the guy to the barracks. When they took the guy to the barracks, they called the patrol van. And so when the patrol van came, they came and picked the uncle away. About some 2 hours time, and then the guy was back again. So really, everybody around was, why the police people didn't take the guy, the young man to the police station and locked him off.
But after the news team confronted DOFSO officials with evidence, the suspect was traced and rearrested from his hideout.
For now, we are going to take the child to the American Relief Center for her safekeeping until the investigation is done, and then we invite the biological parent of the child, and then we investigate as to how come the child went into the custody of whoever the child was before we secure the child. This one is causing harm. It's not ordinary assault, because seeing the way he was bleeding and all that, because we have assaults by battery, and then this one has gone beyond what could be termed as ordinary assault. So the person has really caused harm to the girl.
Everything they say that is bad, they say attributed to Ashaman. And this kind of thing should not be happening in Ashaman. And therefore, we are entreating the police to do the right thing.
An outraged community, that is the feeling here in Ashaman Taifa. The life of Mefia, the 6-year-old girl brutalized by the uncle, is in danger, and justice is being sought by members of the community. They are outraged and angered about the handling of the case by the police, which they said justice has not been served and has to be served in the interest of the 6-year-old. Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Ashaman Taifa.
Let's turn back to health now. As embattled director of the Ankafo Psychiatric Hospital, Dr. Eugene Dodoi has been given 1 week to hand over to his would-be successor. The aggrieved nurses have accepted the new roadmap negotiated by the Deputy Minister of Health, Tina Mensah. This will bring to an end almost a year-long battle between the nurses and the director, whose tenure has been described as abusive and inconducive.
The nurses, in their latest release in months of battle between them and their director, alleged the administrator had put them through emotional and psychological stress. The nurses and physician assistants then on February 14 stayed away from work to press home their demand for Dr. Dodoi to be removed, citing mismanagement and gross disrespect. The workers failed to honor a meeting scheduled by the Health Ministry to resolve their grievances. Then, Public Relations Officer of the Sector Ministry, Robert Kujo, said the director had been removed from office. The ministry said this was to help promote serene industrial climate. However, the aggrieved workers said the word of the ministry was not enough evidence in the absence of a document to back. As such, the Deputy Minister of Health, Tina Mensah, led a delegation from Accra to the Central Region to calm the muddy waters. Her new roadmap will have the director roll out after a week. This seems to have gone down well with the workers. For those who have held the view that Dr. Dodoi was a victim of a corrupt system who was trying to rid of the bad, they will be looking on as to what the Ministry of Health will do in the absence of a successor.
Right, you're on News 360, and let's go back to the story that we were supposed to bring on the picketing of the nurses. The story said the 2016 batch of government-trained nurses have besieged the Ministry of Health, demanding posted to various health centers. And the government-trained nurses said they do not understand why privately trained nurses are going through verification exercise. So let's cross over to Kwabena Jemfi, our correspondent.
And these nurses initially were at the Ministry of Health premises because early on in the day when we were here, they said that they were going to be here till they get a positive feedback from government as to when they will be posted. But then just about an hour ago, the Chief Superintendent, the Chief Operations Officer, Superintendent Kwesi Fori, told them that he was giving them an hour ultimatum to vacate the area because they were not supposed to be here, and that if they don't leave, he's going to apply force to them. I have him with me here. We want to find out from him exactly what has been happening here and why that ultimatum was given to these trainee nurses. Good evening and welcome to News 360. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes. So why did the police, or why did you give them this 1 hour ultimatum for them to vacate the premises of the Ministry of Health?
The public order law does not permit this. It is night. This is one of the sensitive areas of this country where we have the ministries, vital institutions of state and so forth. And they are here as unwanted guests. And you've seen them throwing stones. We have cars, we have properties here. We cannot permit them to engage in this act of lawlessness. Therefore, you are a witness. I've spoken to them about the public order law. I've spoken to them that in democracy you cannot misconduct yourself in any how. That borders on criminality. And that there is the need for public decency. And the police, we are taking this decision couched within the arms of the law, ambit of the law, and this is what we are doing. So they should go home and use proper procedural norms to address their situation. The picketing in the morning, the police policed them, right, but they decided not to leave these grounds. And we cannot, they are unwanted guests, we cannot allow them to sleep here. Should they engage in acts of arson, lawlessness? After you've seen them
clear on that, officer, but then did you at any point in time say that you were going to fire tear gas on them if they don't leave here?
We've not used tear gas, but we will use every appropriate means within democratic policing to get them out of here.
Thank you very much. So we just spoke to the Chief Operation Officer, Superintendent Kwesi Fori, and like he said, they may apply force if these trainee nurses do not leave the premises of the Ministry of Health. Yes, they have left, but then they are still within the domain of the ministries here. You talk to a few of them. I have this gentleman here who has been very vocal with regards to the issues of their picketing and their unemployment situation. Good evening, gentlemen. And tell us more about the situation.
As it stands now, Minister just left some few minutes ago. The police have been able to sack us, but they couldn't put measures in place to tell the minister to attend to us. In your presence as a police officer, you are a law enforcing agent. And I expected that as the minister was even coming, the police should have been able to what? Speak to the minister to actually have human feeling and attend to us. Are we not human beings? We have been here since morning with the police. Must the minister come and leave us and go away? Is it that we are not concerned citizens? Why? I expected the police to also talk to the minister.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So some of them, not all of them are from Accra. Some of them are from Kumasi. Some of them are from northern part of Ghana and all. So as I speak to you now we are somewhere in the ministries, and then their point is that their only issue now has been the fact that they need some sort of communication from the Minister of Health before they leave the premises or the ministry's domain. So that is what has been happening here so far. My name is Kwabena Jemfi from the ministries, Accra, TV3.
Right, Kwabena Jemfi, in the thick of events there, we'll definitely go back and find out if there is more happening, particularly ways and means of resolving the issue. Let's move on to some other stories tonight. And the Criminal Division of the Accra High Court has ordered the release of the Achimota Senior High School student who shot and killed his girlfriend last year and was sentenced to 3 years in the correctional home. The court held that the trial has exceeded the 6 months as stipulated in the Juvenile Act, while the trial judge erred in ordering for a social inquiry report after handing sentence, despite what is required by law to do so.
According to the presiding judge, Justice Kofi Dogu, the trial of the accused also exceeded the 6 months duration as stipulated in the Juvenile Act. The student is reported to have brought out his father's gun under a bed with the intent of shooting in the air, but ended up killing his friend Lily Donko, who was also a third-year student of the same school. A juvenile court presided over by Bernardine S.A. Suno found the then 17-year-old guilty of manslaughter. His lawyers in November 2017 filed an appeal at the High Court arguing the sentence was harsh. They also claimed the trial judge lacked jurisdiction to hear the matter per the Section 24 and 33 of the Juvenile Justice Act. Section 24 states that where a juvenile is charged with an offence, the juvenile court shall order a social inquiry report to be submitted to the court, which shall be taken into account by the court in the making of an order. While Section 33 states that the case of a juvenile charged with an offence before a juvenile court shall be dealt with expeditiously, and if the case is not completed within 6 months of the juvenile's first appearance in court, the juvenile shall be discharged and is not liable for any further proceedings in respect of the same offence. The lawyers prayed the court to set aside the decision of the lower court. Delivering his judgment, Justice Kofi Dogu said the action of the juvenile court judge in ordering for the special inquiry report after sentencing amounted to a miscarriage of justice. He added the trial exceeded the mandated duration, therefore set aside the decision and ordered a discharge of the student.
You're on News 360 and still to come tonight.
We throw the spotlight on dark streets in the capital, endangering the lives of road users at night.
And in international news, 17 people killed in Mozambique's capital, Maputo.
Got the details of these stories for you here on News 360, and news also from the world of business, sports and entertainment shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back to News 360. Let's delve into some business news this evening, and we start off with the Petroleum Commission, which has given upstream petroleum operators up to March 31 to advertise contracts as required by the country's local content law or face sanctions. Acting Chief Executive of the Petroleum Commission, Ebert Fable, indicated the Commission needs to vet these contracts to prevent unnecessary costs being passed on to Guineans, as well as to boost local content.
Local content refers to the percentage of locally produced materials, personnel, financing, goods and services rendered especially to the oil and gas industry, which can be measured in monetary terms. Ghana's local content policy targets a minimum of 90% local participation in all aspects of the oil and gas value chain by 2020. It requires that an oil and gas company must obtain 60 to 90% of its goods and services from domestic sources within 10 years of its operation. The legislation targets the local content of 60 to 80% in various onshore engineering services within 10 years of operations. Fabrication and construction companies must utilize between 50 and 100%. At the Local Content and Procurement Conference in Accra, Acting CEO of Petroleum Commission Egbert Fable Jr. asked upstream oil and gas companies to advertise their contracts.
We are giving a moratorium of between now till the end of March. From 1st April, every contract that has to come to the PC as part of your checklist includes you should have done adverts, we should see the request for proposals, the pre-qualification criteria, the technical documents, the technical evaluation criteria, and any other information that will require. You need to bring all that. If you don't bring it, forget.
The conference afforded participating oil and gas companies to share information on current and ongoing projects, upcoming upstream petroleum projects, as well as procurement and contract opportunities. Egbert Fable Jr. warned against funding by Ghanaians in a bid to achieve local participation.
People to now bring joint venture partnership agreements and shareholder agreements to us, and then there are also other intelligence, gathering methods that we are using, which I don't want to put out on air for obvious reasons, but we are very much on top of it, and we'll ensure that the people of Ghana get maximum benefit from their natural resources.
Contract and Procurement Manager at Springfield Exploration and Production, Jeffrey Asari, underscored the need to build the capacity of local contractors in the oil and gas industry.
We don't have enough of the capacity to be able to do what we expect our contractors to support us in doing. But part of our responsibility is to be able to build the capacity of our contractors to be able to deliver the kind of services that we expect from them.
On to some other stories. The Corporate Relations Director of Guinness Ghana Breweries Limited, Gabriel Opoku, has urged commercial vehicle drivers to adhere to road safety regulations. He was speaking at a closing ceremony of a road safety campaign organized by Guinness Ghana Breweries.
This year's campaign was dubbed Twakwanumom, which means ensure you cover the distance. Drivers and other stakeholders were taken through training workshops and road shows in the Greater Accra region and central regions during the 6-week outreach. The Corporate Relations Director of Guinness Ghana Breweries, Gabriel Opoku, advised drivers to adhere to safety guidelines.
Twakwanumom is our flagship Alcohol in Society program. And basically, for Guinness Ghana Breweries, we are committed to ensuring that people do enjoy alcohol responsibly, and alcohol has a positive role in society. We've reached over 10,000 drivers, teaching them not to drink and drive. We don't do this program alone. We partner the National Road Safety Commission, the DVLA, the MTTD, and also the University of Ghana Dentistry and Psychiatry Department. After the training, we do test the drivers on the road with the police, and with that, we've seen massive compliance rate.
The head of the Chimote Transport Union, Kwame Alajo, lauded Guinness Ghana for undertaking the campaign.
You have to note that a driver does not need to drink and drive. When the doctor makes a mistake, one person dies. But when a driver makes a mistake, several people die.
Participants who excelled in road safety tests were rewarded. Guinness Ghana said it is committed to ensuring that drivers observe the best safety practices on the road.
Now, Societe Generale Ghana has presented prizes of the Abingwaha final draw to its winners. The 6 winners each won brand new Suzuki Baleno cars.
It was an exciting moment for the 6 final winners of the Societe Generale Ghana's Abingwaha promo. The aim of the promo was to inculcate the habit of saving in customers and as well as reward them for it. The Abingwaha promotion was launched in August 2017 and gave customers the opportunity to deposit a minimum of 200 cedis and stand a chance of winning amazing prizes in a mini draw and an exciting final draw in which customers stood the chance of winning 6 cars. 6 customers from Sunyani, Tamale, Wa, Cape Coast and Accra took home a brand new Suzuki Baleno car each.
I didn't believe it for the first time, but they called me around 9:30 that I've won the promo. So in fact, even I didn't know what to say.
Even though I was taking part in the promo, I was thinking that I was going to win a television. So when I heard the news that I won a car, I was very, very much excited. But they really called again and said, and was trying to remind me, and I believe that was when I believed it.
It was a dream come true.
I never expected it. Because when I heard it for the first time, is it true? Is it true? Then the next day, I had another call that it's true I should come. So I went to the local bank, Kepus, to verify.
Head of Retail Network, Obed Hoya, said the aim of the bank is to become Ghana's preferred bank. And to achieve this, it has adopted the strategy of pleasing every customer by providing real, practical, yet innovative solutions.
We've been able to invigorate the habit of savings, among our customer base and beyond. So during this promo, we had people coming on, opening accounts with us and opening savings accounts. And we have really proven as well that when we say we're going to give to customers, we've lived by our promise.
The managing director of the bank said the bank is offering the highest quality of service combined with great, effective and innovative promotions, and Abim Waha is the evidence.
All the clients who have participated in the promo, they have some savings to start 2018 on a good note. That was our main purpose, is to help our clients achieve those type of targets, or financial targets. And well, it's also the opportunity to appreciate our clients and show them we are here to support them.
The bank is focused on satisfying the needs of its customers with a well-differentiated products and services which will ultimately improve shareholder value.
And on that note, we end the business news here on News 360 this evening. There's more business news on our website. Visit 3news.com. On to you, Isa.
Thank you very much, Natalie. And let's do some more stories tonight. For the energy sector levy, electricity consumers are charged 3% for streetlights as demanded by policy. But most streets in Accra are not lit at night, endangering lives. In the following report, Evelyn Tingma takes a look at street lighting and the safety of road users in Accra.
It's past 7 p.m. and these are scenes of Accra at night. You will not be faulted for describing some areas in Accra as a dark city. On major roads, streets and highways, street lights are lined up, but they do not function at night, making driving difficult for motorists and other road users. Even at certain areas where solar panels have been installed, the street lights still do not function, leaving one wondering what actually the problem is. For instance, on the Liberation Road, street lights only function from the 37 through to Airport and to Tetepashi. From Okonglo through to Legon, Medina and Adenta, the street is dark, and this is because the street lights are malfunctioning.
We are here at the Firestone area close to the Medina Zongo Junction, and this particular stretch, when it was officially open to traffic somewhere 2016, the lighting system was very impressive. I mean, you pass here and the whole place was lit. But today, the story is different. Darkness has taken over.
The situation is no different in areas including Hacho, Achimota, Ring Road and the Gimpa area.
Sometimes you have to put on your highlights in order to see them. You hardly see them except those who are in reflective clothing.
Without the lights, it's difficult to see. It's easier when there's a light from the top and lands on the road than headlights meeting. So sometimes people use highlights and then it blinds your vision.
Pedestrians and motorists have no alternative than to depend on car lights for better visibility.
We pay our taxes and I don't know what's being used for. Sometimes we have people crossing on the street, and if you don't put on your highlight, you knock them down. We have objects on the street and potholes that you can run into and then it cause accidents.
Due to the lighting system, some of us who are not too careful in crossing find it very difficult.
So street lights, I say we use to dim. But that's street light, I say we use to
Most drivers use the highlight instead of the dim, and that affects their eyes.
The story is same on the Tema motorway.
We are on the Tema motorway, and from the start to the end of the expressway, the street lights are not functioning. And this has been like this for several years. And so the question we ask is, who really cares about the safety of motorists and pedestrians on this particular stretch?
The situation is even worse halfway through the expressway to the end, as electricity poles are no longer visible. Meanwhile, Ghanaians under the energy sector levy are charged 3% for street lighting. The deductions had existed for years. Under the policy framework, metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies also charge property rate, with the levies going into the maintenance of street lights. Despite this initiative, the street lights are still not working. The Electricity Company of Ghana has meanwhile indicated that it is not responsible for street lighting.
In accordance with the provisions of the local government departments of these assemblies, Instrument 209 LI 1961, AMDAs are responsible for development, installation, ownership, and maintenance of street lights throughout the country. The maintenance of street lights is not under ECG.
The ECG pointed to the MMDAs and the Energy Ministry as responsible for the street lighting. The MMDAs, however, laid the blame on the ECG. Meanwhile, the Energy Ministry has refused to comment on the issue. So we ask, who is responsible to ensure that Accra is lit at night? Evelyn Tenkma, TV3 News, Accra.
Well, quite a difficult situation to handle. I mean, a particular place says the mortuary road in Accra. I hope one day a ghost doesn't come up the mortuary into the street.
It's incredibly dark.
People are going to be scared. I mean, that's a difficult situation.
It's a problem. Well, you've seen it here, and the discussion will certainly continue in our... Welcome back to News 360. Time now for some international news where we put focus on Mozambique. At least 17 people have been killed in Mozambique's capital, Maputo, after a huge mound of rubbish collapsed on their homes. Many more residents were injured when the pile of waste, some 49 feet high, gave way to heavy rains at 1 o'clock GMT on Monday. The city of Maputo has experienced heavy rainfall since Sunday, which has damaged homes and flooded roads. Several properties were crushed in the incident in the Hulene district of Maputo, one of the poorest parts of the capital, while people were sleeping outside.
Up next is some entertainment news. And in this segment tonight, the late dancehall songstress Ebony Rain's one-week observance brought together politicians, actors, sportsmen, and musicians to mourn with her family. The St. Martin de Porres School venue was filled with thousands of mourners, raising concerns for a more spacious venue for her March 17 funeral. Here is Owusu Warai's reports.
Ebony lived a short life, but had a rather huge influence on music enthusiasts. An overwhelming crowd turned up for her one-week celebration, confirming her popularity while putting the crowd control abilities of the police to test. Loved ones thronged the St. Martin de Porres venue, bringing traffic to a halt in Dansoman.
It's unbelievable because we had to park at the roundabout and walk through the people, and it was crazy getting to the main stage. Too many people expressing their love, and I think Ebony reigns forever. It's sad, but in some aspects we're happy. She really made a big impact.
It tells how big Ebony was, and you must be proud of this woman, even though she's no more.
Well, I shall always be proud of Ebony because she deserves that. She's made her mark.
Ebony's family has settled on March 17 for her funeral, but are yet to decide on a would-be appropriate venue. With the crowd expected to possibly triple at the hitmaker's funeral, industry players think the option of either the forecourt of the State House or the Independence Square for the funeral will help avert a stampede.
So this is a lesson to them. This is something that they should learn from that. This is just 1 week. The funeral, the president is possibly going to attend. Possibly people are going to come from outside Ghana. And if just 1 week, this is just her crowd though. So if you are going to add all those dignitaries and security issues, I think they should find a bigger venue. They should consider the stadium, the Independence Square, or somewhere else which is bigger. Trust me, if they bring the funeral to a smaller place like this, they are going to regret because there will be emergencies.
The crowd that is here should even give you an idea of what will happen, even if you have to do it here in DC. What I'm suggesting is This girl needs a stadium, Independence Square, or the trade fair. I am believing that people are going to hire buses from BA all the way down to Accra.
Well, that's it for this edition of News 360. I am Isa Moni.
And I'm Natalie Force. Thanks so much for watching. We've got more news on our websites, 3news.com, and news at 10 simulcast on our sister station, 3FM 92.7. And the drama continues next on Sadia. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good evening.